Hello everybody. We have a game with the white pieces on our speed run against Nomez Proprieto, rated 1300. So we're climbing and we do get our Ruy Lopez on the board. He develops the bishop, eyes our king. Looks like I can just castle. He plays d6, opening up his light square bishop. Now we could invest a turn in h3. It secures the dark squares because he can't pin us. I think I'm going to do it. Instead of playing c3 immediately, now he attacks our central pawn. And now I can play rook e1 safely, because otherwise the knight could have come to g4 and coordinated. But now because of our h3 move, it can't. So we defend. And he hangs a knight. Okay, he moves quickly, pinning the knight. Maybe he wants to add pressure with the other knight. We don't want to allow that, so I'm going to take this knight off the board. Also, it was pinned, but either way, I ruined his structure. I've removed a pair of pieces now that we're up a piece. Simplifying, liquidating, and now I'll just develop with d3, opening my bishop, and I'll just plant it to counterbalance his bishop. Now he has no pressure on my position. And this game was a little bit ridiculous. Due to h3. If he takes, I'm going to take with the rook, defending my knight so I can move my queen without ruining my pawn structure. If he doesn't take and just makes like a random, well, f5 is not random, but let's say he plays f5, I'll just take his bishop and triple isolate. So he adds pressure with the queen, but he's not threatening to win a knight. He's only threatening to ruin my pawns at the cost of a queen trade. So that's not good. I mean, we can move our rook here, which is nice. We can also just bring our knight in and support it with a knight. So now our pawn structure is protected. Moves the rook, but I'm not sure what it's doing there. I'm going to rook lift anyway, just because I want to create some squares for my queen. And also because I am going to probably place it on one of these squares anyway. So it looks like a good move. And he doesn't have any minor pieces, so he can't harass it. So as awkward as it normally looks here, I think it's good here. Now he's hanging the rook, but my queen would hang. So let's just move the queen. Here's as good as any square. Now his rook is hanging. So he moves the rook again. He just keeps moving it for no reason. Our knight's free to go if we want to move it. But instead, let's move the other knight and create a double threat. We can even retreat this knight so the bishop is hitting air, and then we could play with our rook. Knights, you can maneuver them backwards, sideways. They're very flexible pieces. They're just sometimes slow, depending on what square you want to go to. So he moves his rook, which hangs the pawn, and the bishop as well. He has these triple isolated pawns, which are terrible. And now he hits our knight, but the knights defend each other, so we'll leave them for the time being. I put my queen here as opposed to e1 for the extra option of f4, which, it acts as a rook behind it. It's almost like you castled with the rook, and then I use that opportunity to play f4 as if it was a rook, threatening f5, supporting my center, and now queen f3, and we can put an actual rook on f1. So this is what I'm looking at. If he takes, but we can just recapture with the knight, maintaining structure. And because this pawn's defended backwards with the knight, we never have to even play b3 on a rook move, right? and our position's entirely secure because our one weak point the knight protects, and he can't take it without sacking in exchange. So we just have everything you could ever want in the position. Now let's just aim at his king, because why not? Let's lift our queen up, maybe go to h5, maybe bring our rook over. Okay, he attacks this pawn. Also, if you play b3 here, your rook might be hanging. So I'm going to move my rook, and he's going to take my knight. And when I take back, he's going to try to get counterplay on the b pawn. You know, at the cost of the exchange. But I don't even want to allow that, if I'm being completely honest. So I'm going to throw in c3. And he can still take. But now when I take, he takes. This pawn's protected. I guess there really was no point to that. Yeah, he could have done it. But of course I win a lot of materials, so who cares? I'm also up a piece, so also bad for him. I don't know why I made c3 just instinctively thinking it would stop it, but he can just take it anyway. So he moves his rook. And now we can continue with whatever we were trying to do before I lost my train of thought. I'm going to actually just take some time to king shuffle because it might be quicker just to put my rook on h1. You know, rather than go to f1 and then try to rook lift it. Just get my king out of the way. The king sits well on e2 or wherever. It's fine on f2. I'm even going to launch the g pawn up the board so I can try to crack open the h file and checkmate the guy. He moves his queen, but I think he's going to sack his rook and then take the knight again with exchange ideas. Maybe. So I said you don't have to play b3, but you could to get rid of all exchange ideas, which is funny. We also could just get rid of them by hitting the queen and taking the pressure off of the knight because he has to move and can't maintain contact. So he moves back. Can we continue harassing? I think so. So let's do that. Gives more space for our pieces. Okay, he moves the queen forward. Can we continue harassing? Most of you would say no, but rook h5. Yeah, let's throw it in. This is all free progress for us. We got to push our pawns from here up. We got to lift our rook, which may or may not be a good thing. His queen goes around. This pawn is hanging, but of course, who cares about that? Crack open the king. Seems like the right idea. Okay, now his king is destroyed. We can take this with tempo on the queen. And wherever the queen goes, I guess it has to go here. We have check. If he blocks with the queen, the pawn takes. And if he moves, I'm sure there's some checkmate ideas, so he resigns. Good enough. He knew what was coming. I was just calculating slowly, taking my time. But he knew the writing was on the wall. So let's go over the game and see how we did. So we get the start of a Ruy Lopez. And then king safety, development. The good thing about this opening is that, you know, in 4 moves you're castled. Whether you put the bishop on b5 or c4, you can still castle in 4 moves and get 2 pieces out and a pawn presence, all in 4 moves. That's why it's one of the most popular openings. And now, okay, so this isn't a mistake. You can play d4 this early. Oh yeah, you can, but Isn't the whole idea to build up with c3? Weird. Anyway, I was going to play c3, but after he pins this, I don't really want to deal with that, so I threw an h3 first. Completely playable option. Um, the eval doesn't change, so it's fine. And it just defends your center. Prophylaxis against two minor pieces. Early game is important. King space. It has some benefits for sure. And now center, development, force move, and he just throws away a knight. So completely even game to plus 3.5. Makes no sense. And this guy's 1300. That's how I don't get how some of you are like 100. Because as long as your eyes are open, how could you possibly make this move when there's a pawn here? But maybe he's sleepy, that's why. His eyes are closed. So, okay, it's my turn. And now you definitely don't need to take the knight because it's pinned and you can't jump in here anyway. And you're going to play c3. Like, there's so many reasons you don't need to take it. But we just throw it in because whatever. It's simplification and liquidation towards winning endgame. And reduces opponent's resources. So, center and development. Center, counter pressure, development. This is just a free stuff because although it's a trade, we get a positional gain from it. So the evaluation goes up in our favor. Or it should. Let me see. Yeah, it goes up in our favor. And then we develop, center, harmonious move, it's obvious. Development, defensive measures, unpinning our knight. So a form of development, and it's a threat. It's for free. Some of you may think Queen F1 looks ridiculous, but it's for free because it hits the rook by unpinning the knight. And what's the engine best move? I wouldn't be surprised if it was something like moving the queen. Oh no, he moved his rook forward. Whoops. Was it here? Yeah, here. Okay, c3, just hitting the rook, but weakening your pawn. And then Queen F1. They're both plus 4.2, so they're both the same. And if not Queen F1, also Queen E1 is the same. Yeah, so I'm not surprised that even Queen F1 is the top, tied for the top move. Because it does a lot of things, even though it looks funny. But who cares how a piece looks? You have to see the effect on the board. The effect is it attacks the rook and unpins my knight. And now I get this beautiful improving move for free with a double threat. Free stuff. Plus 6. F4. Developing move, giving space to our pieces. And center. Force move. Improving our piece towards his king. This was just a little bit of prophylaxis against his exchange sack, but he could still do it. Like if I go here, yeah, you see how his best move is to take the knight? It's still plus 5, totally lost, but it was his try, because if he takes the knight and I take, he can at least try to infiltrate and be like, ooh, I have a rook here. It obviously does nothing, doesn't matter, but whenever you have a rook on the 7th, you get that feeling inside like you're doing something, right? So that's what he should have at least tried, even though he's not doing anything. So yeah, c3 was the only move in the game that I actually don't like from what I did, but I realized that as soon as I made it that it's kind of useless. And now it's the best move. What? Wait, now it's all of a sudden the best move? So if I go rook f1, which is what I was going to do, his best move is still... Well, it keeps changing. Oh, no, yeah. His best move is still the exchange sack. So how is c3 best? Oh, because this position looks even worse. But not really. It looks totally crushing. It's plus 6 either way. It's weird though that after I played c3 they changed it to best. I still don't like it though, even though they say it's best. I still would rather not include it. I'm not really sure. It's so hard to tell, but I don't think I need to waste time on that. I think rook f1 is fine, or king f2. Oh no, king f2 doesn't work, but rook f1. Anyway, it's a free improve. It's for free, so who cares? We get to go again. Now we improve our king, but it's really a developing move. It's for the rook. Improving the rook. Improving our pawn's presence on his king side. Improving the space on the king side. Improving our advantage for free on the king side. Continually harassing the queen. Improving a piece for free. Improving a piece for free, harassing the queen. And now it's mate in 7. Mate in 7. I was going to take this and assumed he goes back. But I guess he has to sack the queen if he doesn't want to get mated faster. Because if he does go back, we have mate in 5. I was going to go here. He has to move his king somewhere. And then over here I was calculating what my next move would be when they resigned. But I guess giving this check so you can open up the place for the rook. Oh, this is a cute move, queen g5. But I think this is normal enough. And then he has to sack his whole army. Yeah. Okay, so not even an inaccuracy. All zeros. 11 cent upon 97. Wow. It's a super solid game. And the Ruy Lopez, even with h3, no inaccuracy. Yeah, actually it was super smooth sailing and kind of easy. It wasn't hard to find moves. Okay. So that was a really good game. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Submit your rap games in my Discord. Good luck and goodbye.